3, 2, 1.
Okay, this is a call to order of special meeting of the Bridgeport Board of Education. Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Yes. John Weldon,
Present.
Bobby Brown,
Present.
Sybil Allen, Albert Benahan, Jessica Martinez, Joseph Sokolovic,
Present.
Chris Taylor, Sosimo Fabian,
Present.
and myself, Joseph Lombard.
Okay, we have a quorum, 5 members present. The stated item on the agenda is discussion and establishment of 2021 board priorities. So this meeting was called because previously there were some members who felt that we didn't operate in a very proactive way and setting priorities for ourselves as we move forward. So I called this meeting for us to be able to do that. There's a couple of elements of this. One, for everyone that's here, if you have something, I would like to hear from you if there is some particular thing, policy action, something that affects daily operations, something that you feel we could be doing better, that you think is important, that you would like to see accomplished by the time the end of the year comes. You don't have to have something, but if you do have something, we'd like to hear it. If you have things that are like at your committee level and you have an idea of how long it's going to take for you to get through it and get it to the full board, I'd like to hear that. And then separately, Mr. Testani's not here. He wasn't sure if he was going to be able to be, but I asked him to go to his staff and get from them a punch list of items that they are going to need approved by us over the course of the year so that we can kind of slip it into our schedule and know at about what time of the year different things are going to be brought to us. So he's going to get a list like that to me. So like he'll find out, Marlene, what's your drop dead date for the budget approval? John Garrity, what's your drop dead date to be awarding your nutrition bids? Things like that, so that we can slip them into the schedule and know what we have to work around. I already have a couple of things at my committee. What I did was I just kind of took and typed in, made a manual copy of our meeting schedule for the year. And for the couple of things that I currently have at my committee, I made a guesstimate of when those items I anticipate to be able to bring to the full board. So for example, in facilities on February 1st, we're going to be hearing a presentation about installing a basketball court at Black Rock School. And once we do that, we should be in a position to just send that to the full board for the February 8th meeting. So next to the February 8th meeting, I placed that in there. So that's something to be looking for. And the same thing with the, we have at governance, we have 2 items, one of which is allowing non-voting members on standing committees. And another one is allowing remote participation at in-person board and committee meetings. I anticipate that may take a couple of committee meetings before we're able to push that through to the full board. So I bumped that out to March. So that just to kind of give you a sense for the kind of thing we're talking about. So I'll just go around the room to see if anybody has like a particular priority that they would like to see addressed by the end of the year, 1 or 2 priorities. Ms. Brown, is there anything that you've been thinking of that you would really like to see pursued?
I know that we were talking about creating just overall goals. I don't know. I guess I'm more so looking into like seeing what everyone else has in mind, but just goals for the board. I think one thing I would like to see on a board basis is just more more connection with each other as far as like what we plan to do as a team and how we can build, you know, more camaraderie together, so that when we do have meetings, not saying that we all have to agree, but we are at a place of respect and understanding for each other, which I think we've been doing a great job. But there's always room to improve, and there's always room to really like get to know other people. I'm not saying that we can't, everything has to be business, but it would be nice to just really get to know everyone more on a personal basis when it comes to this work. Because I personally only know each of you in your respectable places as board members. And I should feel comfortable to go to each and every one of you, ask a question, or, feel like I'm being mentored in a sense. I don't know about Mr. Fabian, but like, even being a part of the board, the process has been interesting. And I think only because COVID has slowed down a lot of things, I was able to really learn and participate and ask questions. I, got a chance to, have Joe, walk me through some things every once in a while if I didn't understand something or didn't understand the language. But it would be cool if, it would be nice for the whole entire board. I don't say a lot, but I'm always learning and paying attention. So that was one of my concerns, of just feeling a more comfortable basis with the board, to feel comfortable to, not saying that my questions are dumb, but if there's a question, I would love to, be able to ask anyone on the board and not have to really worry about the politics of things, but just an understanding as, this is your area of expertise. I can go to you for this particular thing. And if anything, I'll come back if I have any other things.
We actually had a webinar with CABE last week. I think it was last week. We had 2 webinars, and one of them was relationship building. That was sent out to everyone. Not everyone was able to participate. I understand they hold these things typically like 12 to 1, so you can maybe participate during your lunch hour. But they talked about. I attended it. Mr. Fabian attended it. Albert was there briefly and he got bumped off. But they talked about that very issue, particularly as it relates to the way we have to operate now, not being in a room because you're not able, to make a side comment to your neighbor that's sitting next to you. We're all just in these blocks and giving our thoughts and views, but it takes away from some of the more interpersonal aspects of being on this board, and that's hard. Hopefully, as things lighten up and we get to a point where we can all be in a room together, we can do something. We can go out for a pizza or something and get to know each other and just be people. But at this point, it's hard. It's hard. I know that. Mr. Lombard.
Thank you. I have a couple of thoughts. One of them, though, I'm not sure this is the purpose of, and that is more, I was kind of hoping Mr. Testani would be here, just questioning what, if anything, is a part of the curriculum for service, for service hours, service work in the school, if it is a part or not. There's so many areas of need in our city, and the youth are an amazing, not just resource to help, but also it's an amazing opportunity for them to grow and learn. So I didn't know if it's something that's already existent. So I wanted to ask Mr. Testani about, and if it's something as an initiative related to an accomplishment, if it wasn't already in existence of the board. So that was something I wanted to mention. And again, I don't know that this is the right forum for that, because I know we're talking about interboard activity, but as opposed to our impact on the district. But I was thinking that could be an area where we could maybe have an initiative as a board, But anyway, have an initiative, a goal as something to work toward with the district. Again, that's just something I wanted to mention. And then as far as within the board, something I would really appreciate, and I know some of these things do exist already, but something that's more structured around the lobbying aspect for the budget. In the time that I have been here, which gosh, going on 2 years, there's been talk about some members taking a bus ride with other people up to the Capitol. There's been talk about talking to the mayor. But I would like to see a structured, organized process that board members can participate in, not required to. Everything we do is voluntary, but that it's available so I can just plug myself in and not have to create it all by myself. Or maybe get a phone call from a board member that they're doing something and maybe not get a phone call, but something that was more organized and structured. I think as an ongoing thing for any board, that's a worthwhile thing that we could work toward, creating some type of a process or program around the lobbying aspect, be it local or state, for our budget. So.
Okay. Mr. Skolwick?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. I'll try to stay this as constructively as possible. We as a board need to be a little more proactive with our one employee, the superintendent. It seems that he is bringing us, for the most part, no disrespect to him, his goals and objectives. But we as a board also can impose our own goals and objectives upon the superintendent on our district and take initiative and a leadership role in that manner. It seems like
That's why we're here.
right. It seems like all the times we as a but right now it seems like we're addressing the board things, and that appears to be.
Well, no, I mean, everything's fair game. Like if there's stuff that you wanna put as a priority for the superintendent to pursue at his level, let's say that and get that on the record. You know, like Joe Lombard just talked about funding advocacy. Well, we need to coordinate that with superintendent and say, you know, Mike, we want, this is a priority to us. And we need for you to kind of lead the charge and find the ways for us to be able to do that.
Yeah, I just felt that needed to actually be said affirmatively, just so it could be on the record with us, and we know, because we got some newer board members who may not know of their abilities, and we as 9 come together and we can set those goals and objectives, or worst case scenario, we as 5 can set board objectives as a majority vote. Okay, that being said, I've got some superintendent and board goals. One objective would be to deliver to our diverse student body a diverse curriculum taught by a diverse staff reflective of the student body demographics. One of the goals would be to decrease the disparity that currently exists in certified staff to student demographics by increasing minority recruitment, especially male and Hispanic certified staff. And I think we could use as a suggested metric, I don't know how everybody would feel about putting metrics down, the increase of hiring of certified staff and by at least 10% over the 1920 cohort of new teachers, and increasing that number every year until balance is achieved with the student demographics. Another one I have is the board as a whole and the superintendent administration should view all existing policies, procedures, and programming through an equity lens, ensuring that there's a demographic balance with the overall student body, and make it a habit going forward with all reports and information gathering to include race and gender and demographics for easy access and easy reporting. So it could be at our fingertips. We shouldn't have to call out for reports of how many people are in such and such classes or how many kids are made. That should be like fingertip ready information. And I don't know if we have a fully capable database to retrieve that information, but it should be readily available going forward. And that's all I got for now.
Okay. Dr. Fabian.
Thank you, John. So things that I have been thinking about in terms of the board is I would like to think of the board as a package or a product with a brand, and I would like to work on initiatives that are going to enhance our brand, both the board itself and the district itself. And I would like to see us, put forth some initiatives to that end. An example that I can give you is I see the logo that is in the superintendent's email. I think it's every child, every day, or something to that effect, right? But I would like to see something, I would like to see how we can, if that's what we go with, how we can do better with branding and highlighting the positive outcomes of our district and of this board of 9. So that's one thing that I would like to see. I remember that every time I abbreviate. I think I might have shared this with you, John, and Mr. Testani. When I abbreviate Bridgeport, I put BPT, and when my kids ask me what BPT means, I always say it means be proud to, and then there's a blank, so be proud to go to school here, be proud to live here, be proud. So I would like to see us, and I think that will go in nicely with Mr. Lombard's position that we need to become, I think, as a board, stronger advocates for and lobbyists for. It's a great goal. And then another goal that I have in mind is, trying to encourage, the formation of a strategy and innovation council. Kind of have a think tank that provides creative ideas, for the district. I think that would be, something that would be very beneficial. And then Mr. Sokolovic, initial remarks, I would like to echo. I think that we need, as a board, while I am all about collaboration and having collaborative, good, solid relationships, I think it's important that, the role of supervisors for.
So you froze up.
Say that again.
We need you to backtrack. You froze up a little bit.
Oh, I was just going. I was saying I was echoing Mr. Sokolovic's comments at the beginning, and I say that I think I would like to see as a goal our ability to assert ourselves with the superintendent. As I said, I'm all about collaboration and good relationships, solid relationships. As you mentioned, Mr. Weldon, we attended the civility a webinar that was offered. I thought it was excellent. But I do think that we need to, earn, the confidence of the superintendent, that we can help him lead and create and motivate, that he's not in this alone. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that, that the superintendent has supervisors. And the only reason I bring that is based on our exchange as to his evaluation. It was, wasn't clear to me, but he was telling us how he wanted to be making the decision as to how to evaluate. So those are things that I think would be good, solid objectives for the board.
Okay. All of this is really new. This has never really been talked about before. The notion of evaluating the superintendent is a really new initiative for Bridgeport. I'm not aware of, up until a couple of years ago, a superintendent being evaluated at all for years and years and years. So we're getting back into that practice, and I think we got a good start. And as we move through that process, we're going to be able to improve on it for the next go round and just keep building on it. I think we do need to communicate things that are like these very things we're talking about here tonight. Communicate these to the superintendent that, hey, these are the half a dozen things that we feel are priorities. Advocacy, branding, equity and diversity, reporting, and I think those are the main things that we push towards the superintendent. What Ms. Brown was talking about with respect to building our own internal relationships with one another, that's something that's incumbent upon us. We need to find a way to be able to make that happen. It's difficult the way things are now, but we nine to find that way. So, I mean, that's a good start. I think, I mean, these are not really action items. These are like objectives that we would like to see improvement on as we move through the year. Mr. Sosimo, you have your hand up. You're frozen or muted.
Is that, no,
There
I think my Wi-Fi keeps going on. I just wanted to say that even for the board, like having this exchange that we are having right here, I think is diametrically different than what my understanding is of what was happening 3-5 years ago. And I just want to say that I'm a new member, but I am deeply impressed with where we are today versus what my understanding is of where we were 3-4 years ago. And even this, I would very much welcome, like, why isn't the Connecticut Post here today to see both the civility, the willingness of this board to work hard and to make sure that our district gets what it needs. I mean, I think we're on a great path, John. And I also want to make sure when I talk about branding that we brand the board so that the future members of the board want to join and want to be proud to join this group of 9.
Yeah. I mean, I think out of all 9 of us, I've been here the longest. I'm in my 5th year, and I can tell you that today is night and day from what you would have seen 5 years ago. 5 years ago, this discussion would have, and I'm just being honest without getting into specifics, but 5 years ago, I'm going to note for the record that Mr. Benahan has joined the meeting. 5 years ago, this discussion would have ended within 10 minutes with people screaming at each other. And the fact that we're able to sit here tonight and just be people and talk about the things that are important to us individually, that's it may not, on the surface, it shouldn't seem like that would be a big deal, but knowing where this board has come from over the last 3 to 5 years, this is a major accomplishment, and this is meaningful. I see 2 hands up. Was it you first, Mr. Lombard?
Yeah, I'm the only one. I think.
I see Sosimo. Is that left over?
It has taken left over, I think. So I think that this type of dialogue and goal identifying and goal building is an ongoing task.
Yes.
And that a meeting such as this should be a regular part of our agenda. I don't know how that works, if there's a set special meeting every so often. But I think it should be a regular thing that we know is coming and we can look forward to and continue on what we talked about today, check in, see how things are progressing. Are there any new things? Are there any goals that we stated we don't really want to move toward anymore? A formal process of this very thing that we're doing right now. I think it's so important that if there's a way to make it part of an ongoing meeting process, however that would be, that's for you to figure out, John, but I think that would be helpful, because we can't just have this meeting today and say we had this meeting
Yeah, no,
and then not get feedback and check in and so on and so forth. And for whatever reason, not all 9 members can join every time. It gives people an opportunity to make the next one or whatever the case may be. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
yeah, I think that this kind of thing should probably be done at a special meeting where this is the sole topic, so it doesn't get buried with a bunch of other day-to-day business. So, I mean, we can resolve to say meet quarterly and see where we are in these different areas. And are we making progress? Do we think we've bitten off more than we could chew at one time? And maybe do we need to push some things off? But it needs to be an ongoing thing that's constantly updated and reevaluated. And we can do that. We can do that. We can formalize it if you want as a bylaw that the board will meet quarterly to review and evaluate its priorities that are ongoing. You look like,
Also,
yeah, Ms. Brown.
if I could add, I know that when we first started, we did like workshops and trainings and things like that when we were able to meet in person. And I know I may sound immature in the sense that I'm more, because I feel like the better we are with the outlining and structure of learning how different things work on the board, it makes us stronger when we go out and we tackle issues together as a team.
Mhm.
So I was wondering if there's any way possible we can implement another training that's not just where, just because everything changes and,
Yeah.
I want to stay on top of everything, and we're still learning how the board dynamics actually work. So I think it will benefit us as we move forward so that we're able to properly tackle finances. We're able to properly tackle school this or that. That's kind of where I'm thinking.
That was mentioned at either one or both of the webinars at CABE last week. Is they do that very kind of thing where they facilitate, kind of like what they did, I guess it was a year ago now, where they act as the facilitators so that we can all just be having a dialogue about, like, I think the thing they did last year was more roles and responsibilities, but they also do a thing where it's like a self-check-in, where we're just talking about where we think we need to do extra work in, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses. They facilitate something like that, because like for someone like me as the chairman to try to facilitate, because I'm one of you, although I'm your chairman. So it's better if an outside group like CABE can come in and facilitate it. And then we 9, we're all just equal members of the panel at that point. And we can all equally participate without, like myself being consumed with running the meeting. I can actually participate in it more. So I could talk to them about that and see if they'd be willing to do it. I mean, they're not going to do it in person, clearly, but I mean, these are the circumstances we're in. But, if you want to do it now, we can do that, sooner rather than later. If you want to wait and see, how the pandemic goes, to see if we're able to convene in person, to me, that's kind of a roll of the dice. That may happen in 2 months, may happen in 6 months, and then a lot of time has passed. So is that something you'd be interested in doing, at the very least virtually, in the next month or so?
I mean, me personally, I don't have like a rush or a timeline, but I know that as we start transitioning and learning different things, I do think we are due for some type of session together as a team, just so we can better tackle things. And like Mr. Fabian was mentioning about our different talents and things like that, like, the marketing, I went to college for marketing and branding and things like that. I didn't know how much we are involved in that side of things, as to why I never said anything. And maybe, a session where I'm actually, I actually understand the whole picture of what the board is able to touch and what the board is not able to touch. So this way we can work in our talents, because I'm quiet, not because I don't know. It's just, I'm just trying to figure out where I fit in, where my talents could be used so that I can better the board. And, when he mentioned that like a light bulb just went off on my head, like I have so many, great ideas I can bring to the board, because this is what I do all day, every day. But I wouldn't know that's something we actually can engage in to help push the board forward, or the Board of Ed forward.
Sure.
Can I just throw something out there for Bobby? I was recommended a book called What School Boards Can Do by Don McAdams. I haven't picked it up yet, but apparently it's really breaks it down really well about what, as far as, permissibility is, what school boards can do, should do, whatever the may be.
It's called What School Boards Can Do.
What School Boards Can Do by Don McAdams. And in fact, the biggest thing is something that Joe already mentioned. It's hiring the superintendent. And then, of course, we're going to be evaluating as well. I mean, that is really our biggest function, other than overseeing policy and making sure things, go through us. But that's like the biggest function. And then what we can do, I think, is probably spelled out pretty well in that book. So that's what I recommend.
I'll mention that to Mike, and maybe it can get 9 copies, just like to get us 9 copies of Robert's Rules and all that stuff, and send it to everyone, because that's another thing, is that we have been woefully lacking in professional development. And there's nothing at all inappropriate with establishing some sort of a budget line item for the professional development of the board, so that it knows what it should be doing, what it can or can't do, and what creative things other districts do. When I used to work for the local public transit agency, they were a member of the American Public Transit Association, and board members would be sent to training sessions focused on board members so that they could learn nationwide best practices. What are other agencies doing to combat fare beating, or to increase legislative advocacy and stuff like that? And they got to meet with other people who were their counterparts across the country and get an understanding of what other people do. And it seems to me, in all the time that I've been here, we've never had board members, and that's not something we're going to be able to do for travel-wise for a long time, I guess. But still, when the time comes where it's a possibility, where we can engage with counterparts all across the country and get ideas from other people, instead of just being stuck in our own little world trying to figure it out on our own. We should have an ability to increase our skills as board members. And so, like this book that you talked about, Mr. Lombard, that sounds like a good thing for us to all have, and we can read it. And we need to look out beyond our little piece of the world and see how other people do things, and find creative ways that other people have already found. Is there anyone else? Mr. Benahan, you just got here. We haven't heard from you. Do you have anything to say? You have any thoughts?
Afternoon, everyone. Sorry I came a little late. I was in a doctor's appointment. Yes, I have something to say, and I'm listening to everyone, and it's great, and all your ideas and all your comments. But Mr. Chair, I have a question for you. Knowing that you've been so many years in the BOE, and man, be part of the district and be all the time in this board education meeting, I'm as a new board member. Why all this idea and great comments and great books, and like Ms. Bobby Brown said, why they never did it before, years back, with the board members before? It's great we're going to do it now, and I'm happy and I agree. But why this situation they don't do that before?
Well, previously, there were some personalities and dynamics on the board that whenever we tried something like this, it was attempted. But whenever we tried something like this, the discussion would deteriorate into an argument and trying to find fault with one another, and people becoming defensive as a result. And it usually wound up not really going anywhere, except for 9 people leaving a room really angry. And I've said this before you got here, that what we're doing here, it just was never successful. It always just fell apart. But the fact that we're able to do this now and have it not turn into something like that is a testament to how far we've come in the last few years. It's been slow going, but we're here. We're able to sit and talk about this stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you. Before it was too much division, and I'm very glad that us, like our new board members and stuff like that, we're trying to change. We are not perfect, but we're trying to do the best we can, for our community, for our students, the parents, and staff. But I'm very glad, all this stuff. I agree with that. Thank you.
Good. So,
Mr. Chair,
yeah, Mr. Lombard.
I wanted to also mention another resource.
Mhm.
I'm a member of an organization called LEE, which is Leadership in Educational Equity.
Lee, yes.
And I benefited from a nationwide board member conference in Washington, D.C. last year that I went to. It was excellent. And they have a lot of resources available. I don't know if there's charges for all of them or none of them or some of them, but it's something that we could look into. I could look into it myself, obviously, but I wanted to mention it on the record that that's another, they focus on, one of their areas is specifically on boards of education. And
Okay.
so that's a possibility. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get some information on that. And, maybe the next time we get together with this focus, we can look at that kind of stuff and decide, is there something we want to join, or is there something we want to participate in as needed? Like on an a la carte thing. I think a lot of stuff is moving away from physically traveling to conventions, and the new normal is just going to be, a Zoom meeting.
Yes.
But still, there's still going to be opportunities to interact with people from other parts of the country to see what they do and how they do things differently. And that's important.
I have a question. Are we going to
Yeah.
focus on one major umbrella theme that we want to focus on for the board itself, and then one for the district? I mean, I don't know if I'm explaining it right. Like, if we're going to focus on building, I guess, advocating, like, is that going to be like one thing we'll work on advocating for this year, whether that's in the budget, whether that's in the schools, whether that's for the teachers, like one overall thing that we can look forward to, so that'd be like the code that we're going to use for the rest of the year. Like, this is what we're focusing on as a board, and it touches in all these areas.
Well, I think, we've established not a very long list, so I don't think this is a ridiculously long list. I do see them being broken out into like two different categories. One of them being like our own board level development as a working group versus our things that we want Mike to help us with, like funding advocacy. That's a thing we want to do. Staff diversity and equity diversity reporting. That's a thing we want to see done at the staff level. So that's a priority we're placing at the staff level. Branding initiative. We could start a branding committee with a few board members. There are people who specialize in. I was involved in the rebranding of Bridgeport Transit for, I guess it was 10 or 12 years ago. And if a true rebranding is a really large undertaking, and it's not just doing a logo. It involves a lot more than that. And if we were able to like engage a marketing firm who specializes in that, we could use their expertise to rebrand the district, but it seems like because we're always putting out fires, we never have time to do these kinds of proactive things that if we did them and got them done, they would live on forever, So if we take that kind of proactive approach and just give some general guidance at the board level, and then have the staff, through use of professionals who actually do this kind of thing, we could really do something important. You know, just like the gentleman that Mike is retaining to do the diversity training. He's somebody who does this. So, you know, we get somebody in and started at the committee level, and next thing you know, Mike's engaging someone who specializes in this and who can help us with this professionally. So I see the same thing with the branding initiative. Let's get some group that's focused on that to keep, you know, Mike pointed in that direction, so that, you know, by the end of the year, you know, maybe we have a full branding initiative with a guide, a branding guide that says, this is how you apply the logo. These are the phrases that you use. These are fonts that you use. These are for depending on how you want to deploy it. So we can put that on the agenda if you're interested for next Monday, to the establishment of a branding committee. Is that something that you guys would be interested in starting? I see some heads nodding.
I like the idea.
I think, I
Okay.
think that that's important.
Okay. So we'll do that. What else do we have here? A strategy and innovation council. You know, that's something, you know, you could get, when I see a council as opposed to, I do see your hand up, Joe. I'll get to you in a minute. Like when I see a council as opposed to a committee, to me, a council is maybe you have a couple of board members, maybe you have some people from the business community or the other, like the higher education community, UB, Sacred Heart, maybe some people from Bridgeport Regional Business Council. So it becomes like an interdisciplinary group of people who can develop strategy for us, give us ideas, and give us resources. You know, the business council, if it's used the right way, they can be a really great force to help you and advocate for you, like Bridgeport Day in the Capitol, stuff like that. So, you know, we could start something like that and try to decide, you know, what kinds of people might we want to see on a council like that. Maybe a rep from Housatonic, UB, Fairfield U, and Sacred Heart. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. Mr. Sokolovic, you had your hand up, and then Mr. Lombard.
Yes, sir. Something Dr. Fabian said earlier just came back to me. As far as the Connecticut Post reporter, we just recently lost our education reporter due to retirement, and I haven't seen a new one assigned yet. So right now we're basically without somebody to cover, because any coverage we got, positive or negative, basically came through the Connecticut Post. I think we might want to start looking at maybe doing some sort of press releases, some maybe more posts on the website, like what's going on. Not on the website, maybe the social media page would be better. I would say our own social media pages, we could post stuff, but I don't think I'd be a good person to do that because I don't respond well to attacks on social media, so I probably wouldn't be the best front man for an initiative.
It's a special skill.
Yes, but I think we need to be more intentional in our
PR.
PR.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've mentioned it before that, you know, we should, you know, make it like an objective that every Friday or every Wednesday, some kind of positive news gets put out to all the media outlets, not just the Post,
Right.
but, you know,
City Mirror, OIB,
Channel 61,
Yeah.
News 12 Connecticut, all of them, you know.
That will be considered a part of a media package. Like you
Yes.
would that will go a part of the branding. So the logo,
would have
all
a
of that
set
stuff, like
template.
you would send it, a template, everything will go as a media package, and then you'll have designated social media posts. So then all posts say the same thing. So it's not someone getting out of pocket and saying something far left than what the board needs to be said, because it's already constructed. There's a one voice that represents the whole board.
Yeah.
And we're just sharing what that voice is.
Yep. And there are people who do that. You know, you can hire them on like a monthly basis, just give them a flat fee, and they will completely handle your social media. And that's all they do. You know, they know how to do it. They do it well. When somebody posts something crappy comment, they know how to respond very nicely. while still addressing the issue that the crappy comment was about, so that the person who made it feels like they were really listened to and their issue is going to be resolved. So that's another element. So we could fold something like that into the branding initiative to establish what level of frequency are we going to issue press releases, standard, and with an understanding that when big things happen, that's going to get like an extra special kind of treatment. So, okay, that's good. Mr. Lombard, and then Mr. Benahan.
Thank you. Actually, I'm right on topic with what we're talking about. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the branding initiative and now also the PR. I know that Bridgeport Public Schools is doing amazing things in many areas.
Mm-hmm.
It goes all over the place. Aquaculture, discovery, just any building with BASIC or Fairchild Wheeler. I'm not mentioning just a small handful. There are so many things that the larger community, not just the Bridgeport community, but the larger community doesn't know. And I feel like it's an opportunity to partner with the city of Bridgeport, especially when it comes to resources, to fund these initiatives, to really showcase what is happening in the Bridgeport public school system. All the beautiful things, the things that would attract people to the schools and not have them think automatically, oh no, I have to pay for my kid to go to a private school. I can't have them go to a Bridgeport school. No, look what's here. Look what's happening here. So in line with the idea of branding and PR, and it was really that package, including things such as commercials, be they commercials that go onto Facebook or commercials that go on the TV, actually like with the brand, just showing this and showcasing this, and I think that that's an excellent idea that was stated about branding and that it really is long overdue because there are, although I was born in Bridgeport, I grew up in Trumbull. And then my parents moved to Florida, so I went to high school and college in Florida. So I wasn't a part of the Bridgeport school system. And my relationship has gotten in the last 2 years on the board. And the things that I've been exposed to and seen, what we're doing, building a plane.
Mm-hmm.
There's some amazing things that are happening. I think that would be really, if that is one thing that we do, like when Bobby mentioned, will there be like a overarching goal for the board? I definitely think it mixed in. We should have that kind of thing on lobbying for finances and with the government. That's got to be a part of it and getting us all involved as board members. But as far as an initiative, and maybe this being having a committee or so forth, but if we can grow in a positive way the image of the district that we're board members over, what a great contribution, what a great legacy could be left behind by this board, So I really want to say that I think that idea has a lot of potential to do a lot of good. So that's what I say.
And if we get it to a point where it gets really strong legs so that it lives on beyond any of us, so that whenever we individually, finish our terms and go off into the sunset, and then 10 years from now, you turn on the TV and there's a commercial about positive things going on in Bridgeport schools. And to know that, that's something we initiated and it lived. It took on a form of its own and it lived on into the future and it benefited the district for years to come. That's meaningful. Mr. Fabian?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with Joe, given what he said about partnering up with the city. I think Joe was that our
you're breaking up. I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah, you're breaking up and freezing.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, Joe is absolutely right about the idea of partnering up with the city. in part because I often hear people saying that the educational system is an impediment to them moving to Bridgeport, particularly young families.
Mm.
And I have to tell you that, you know, I tend to get very defensive about that because I am the parent of 2 kids who have gone through the Bridgeport public school system, both of which, in my estimation, have gotten a great education out of the public schools. I think that the city of Bridgeport would be more than happy as part of its overarching and ever-going efforts to attract people to downtown or wherever it may be, would very willingly partner up with us. So I just thought I bring that up as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to remark that I wrote her name down beside this branding initiative. There's Rowena White, who is the city's communications director. And she does stuff with us all the time. But it's not anything that's ever regular and deliberate and formalized. It's kind of, you know, as it needs to be. So as part of this branding initiative, I think it would be really smart to pull her into the discussion so that she has some investment in this as well. And then when we get it formalized, she can just take the ball and run with it and help us with that. Because, I mean, there's certainly no need for us to have our own dedicated communications person if we've already got a resource on the city side. But I think we just need to make sure that we keep them in the loop so that they are real partners with us. Mr. Benahan, you have your hand up?
Yep, I was waiting for you to call me. Very good comment, Mr. Lombard. I like what you said. And Mr. Dr. Fabian, I agree with you 100%. As a parent of 3 child, you know, it's something that I'm very proud of Bridgeport School. You know, I agree with you. But Mr. Chair, sometimes it will be good. This is my opinion and my idea that not only Mr. Destani doing Facebook Live. My opinion, it will good like one of us, like you, like a share or one of the board members bring, you know, make video, give information out of for the parent, you know, Bridgeport Public School, what the good things we're doing, what school is doing, you know, all the positive. Of course, you're always going to have somebody throw something negative, but we have to do it like Mr. Stani say, ignore it and keep going, you know, answer, you know, the good, the positive comments. But it's good like the parents in the community see us, like that we care and we working, you know, for our community and and we are very proud what the students and parents and staff they doing, you know, in a Bridgeport School. You know, that's my opinion. That will be good. One of us, you like a share, the vice chair, or any board members trying to bring that information out to the, you know, social media. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else? So what I'll do is I'll kind of put this together. I've just been taking notes as we've been talking and list these, and I'll report on them on the Monday meeting. And I will put on the agenda establishment of a branding initiative committee. I will also try to establish, it may or may not be ready by then, kind of a work plan based on what the staff knows they're going to need approvals for as they move through the year, so that we can have like a work plan. Like we know what's coming down the pike 2 months, 3 months, 6 months from now at the staff level, and with stuff that's been referred to committees. And that work plan can be updated as things get referred to committees, so that if let's say something gets referred to, like Mr. Skolic, you were talking about, your committee has an MTA safety initiative, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I didn't attend that meeting, so I don't know where you are with that. But if you're able to formulate, I'm not putting you on the spot, but I'm saying if you're able to formulate kind of a plan of when you think you're going to be able to put that to the full board, let me know, and we'll assign like a date to it. So like if you think you're not quite ready, but you'll be ready in about 6 weeks, that we'll stick it in the meeting that's going to be at the end of, or the beginning of March, kind of thing.
No,
You
think
know what
more
I'm
like
saying?
June. Yeah, think more like June, John, because we got too much going on in teaching and learning and with all that. So we did table it. I postponed it until the first.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying whatever
Yeah,
you
no,
think
I
is
just wanted to
reasonable.
give you a heads up.
Like if you think you're too busy with other things, you can't deal with it now. Do you want to push it out 4 months?
Right.
Whatever you think is going to be reasonable. And that's the same for anybody else. You know, whatever you've got going on, your committee level, you know, put what you think is a reasonable amount of time for you to work through it, and we'll assign a date to it so that we all kind of know when it's coming. Mr. Benahan?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I have a question for you. And I know we're talking about the positive and the great things we have and we're gonna do. What we can do too about the negative stuff. When I say negative stuff, it's like the worry about the students, the staff, parents. That sometimes they always have something to say. Why we don't do this? Why we don't do that? Why we don't care? They think we don't care. They think like we don't want to do this. What we can do to listen the concerns and trying to figure out that we care, but we have a protocol, we have a policy, you know, this is the way, you know, so they can, I don't want they feel like we ignore them, like we don't care the concerns. What we can do to listen all these people, they think like we don't care or we ignore our concerns of each one or everyone.
Tough one. You know, I mean, because I think no matter what you do, there's always going to be people who are just going to be negative. They're going to cast stones, whether they have a good reason to or not. And no matter how much you try to reason with them and get them to understand, that element is always going to be there. So I think the best thing is to try to always have an open ear and give them the ability to, you know, voice their concerns. And where it's just not feasible to do what it is they're asking, just be honest and say, I can't help you with that. You know, the superintendent has made a management decision and we have to follow him. Or we as a board have made a collective decision as a group, even if it wasn't unanimous, but we're going to honor the majority, and we appreciate your concerns, but we've made a decision that we need to stick to. It's a difficult thing.
No,
Especially with like social media. I do not respond. I don't get involved in conversations. I stay away from it. I don't go on the blogs. I don't, because it's real easy to fall down a slippery slope where you wind up getting into an argument. And it's an argument that, you know, you can't win. And you wind up, you know, offending people where you were really just trying to help them. And I don't know.
No, I understand clearly your point. This is not the point who's going to win, who's the champion. My point is like more concerned about more the parents outside. Like they think that the board, they don't care about the health of the issue, what's going on in the class, or the grades, or what's going on in the schools or something like that. I know we have a protocol and a policy, whatever Mr. Testani do, and we understand how far we can go as the board members. I understand that, and we're not going over that, and we respect that. But I'm more concerned more about parents that they think like we don't want to listen to them. Like yes, we listen from this here and they come out with another one. So I want parents to understand more because we get votes for parents, and I want the parents that don't feel like we ignore them. Like we maybe we can fix or we not, but at least we can respond and we listen to them so they can understand our roles like a board members and we can understand them like a parents. And I know we got board members, their parents, we in the same shoes. So that's one more my concerns.
Mr. Weldon,
Yeah, you've
may
got
I
your hand up.
suggest
I
something?
think you've got something to chime in.
I think Mr. Brennahan makes a very good point. In fact, I would say he makes an excellent point. And I was wondering if a way to address this would be for there to be a uniform email that all board members use when we receive an email from a member of the public. And that email could go something to the effect of, we are in receipt of your email. We have taken the following step, which includes forwarding your email to the appropriate person within the district. If a response is forthcoming, it will be forthcoming from that person, simply so that they know that it wasn't just received and not acted upon. And then we all use the exact same email, and we know that, look, if I get an email,
You mean like a template?
Like a template, yeah.
Okay.
My
I agree
preferred
with that.
action,
Okay.
yeah, my preferred action when I get an email is I'll send it to the chairperson. The chairperson has lots of experience. The chairperson will be sure to get it to the person who can best address this, whether it be the superintendent or whoever else it would be. But I do think that some degree of form email acknowledging receipt, not commenting because it might be outside of the scope, not saying good, not saying bad, not saying I agree, not saying I disagree. Simply receive, acknowledge, and forward it to the appropriate party would be, I think, a nice compromise to Mr. Brennahan is suggesting, because he is right. At least people have bad taste, and since we're talking about branding, it's not good to be unresponsive when people bring something to our attention. So,
yeah, I mean,
And
like
Mr. Chair,
yeah, there's problem.
if I can add, I definitely think and I appreciate that that because I have received tons of emails, and one thing, and Mr. Testani is definitely a recipient, he can vouch for it, is that I never respond either in favor or against, but I will say I will direct you to the right appointed person. But it's one thing if I do it and then other board members or other individuals don't fall in line. So then it's like, well, I got a response from this person and you didn't respond directly how I wanted. But if there is a uniform message, it makes it easier so that I don't feel like I'm being personally attacked because I don't respond the way they asked me to, if it's a message across the board. And we do that at my job in the communications department. If we don't have the right answers, we're not discounting your email, but we can't give you the answer you're looking for because we're not the right person to give you the answer.
Yeah, it happens two ways. I see it happen where all of us get an email from someone. And when that happens, I typically reply all, and point them in the right direction or give them the answer that I think they're looking for. But then it happens another way where an individual board member gets an email that nobody else is copied on. And like Albert has one response or responds in a certain timeliness. Somebody else will give a different kind of response or maybe not respond at all. And that gives a mixed message, because if the same person emails Albert and then 2 months later they email Bobby and the response times are different, the tone of the responses are different, it sends a mixed tone, and it's not uniformed and consistent. So I think development of a standardized response that everybody has access to. Thank you for your email. It's very important to us. I will forward this to the appropriate individual, and you will receive a more detailed response in the near term, or something to that effect. So I think, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll mark that down.
Thank you, Dr. Pian, for your concerns.
Okay.
no, I thought that was an excellent point, Mr. Brennahan.
All right. Is there anything else? You got your hand up, Sosimo? Or is that from before?
That was from before. I'm
Okay.
bad about putting my hands down.
Okay. All right. So is there anything else? All right. So like I said, I'll kind of formalize this list and these ideas. I'll finalize that kind of list that as it is at present. with what we are looking at over the course of the year in terms of action items that will need to be addressed at the board level as they stand today. That would be like a running list that changes as things come up. But it's good to have so that we know, like budget is going to need to be approved by this date. We need to know that. And then I'll put this branding initiative committee on the agenda. I'll talk to Cabe about doing another workshop for us for like a self-evaluation. Am I missing anything? I have this all written down here. I think I've got everything. Anyone think I'm missing anything so
Nope.
far?
So
Oh,
far,
and we'll do this again at the end of the quarter. So on or about March 30th, we'll reconvene to have this very same discussion and kind of update things, see how we're doing. And do we need to prioritize anything one over another and like that? Does that sound like a plan?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Is it something you
Yes.
want to formalize as a bylaw that we will do this? Because we can always do that.
Yeah, John, I think that would be a great idea because
Yes.
if
Yeah.
we're not going to be there, but this is something we want to leave.
Okay. Okay.
Future boards.
Okay, so we'll formalize it. If you want me to just put it on Monday's agenda, I can do that.
That might be a little too quick. We might have to like just work on a little language or whatever. So maybe just throw the governance real quick for a quick overview.
Okay, you want me to just put it on the governance committee?
Yeah, I think that'd probably do you the best.
We
bet,
we
so
can
we
work
get it-
through that over the coming month or two to come up with the just right language that we want to use.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else, or is everybody ready to adjourn?
well, before you
Ready to
finish that,
adjourn.
Yes.
Hang on, Albert?
I know I spoke and everything, but be sure, John, for the record, I was in your meeting.
Yes, I stated your presence when you showed up. Is there anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A move.
Moved by Mr. Sokolovic. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. We're adjourned. The time is 7:46. I'll see you guys Monday. And thank you all for being here. This was a really, really, really good discussion.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Good night.
Have a good night.